All aboard!
All right, Harmonica Lady coming at you, Nedra Russ here. We're going to be with Charlie Barath in Pennsylvania. I've got an interview here you're going to really enjoy. So buckle your seatbelts and let's go. We've arrived in Jamestown. Well, I'm here today with Charles Barath. How you doing today, Charlie?
I'm good, Nedra. It's great to see you.
It's really nice to see you, man. It's been a while.
Too long.
Too long. I'm hoping this year that we can have our annual gathering of the harmonica nerds.
Oh, fingers crossed, my friend.
I know, me too. It's just we play a wind instrument and you can't do it with a mask.
Not easily.
You just can't. I'll tell you. I actually tried. I thought, well, maybe you can. You cannot. Well, yeah, you've had a lot of exciting things going on. You have certainly not let this pandemic slow you down one bit.
Well, no, my first realization when everything shut down, other than that there's going to be no actual gigs for, at the time, nobody knew how long. Everybody thought, a month or two, who would have thunk it's going to be years. But I have been able to do some gigs since then. Initially, my first thought was I need to stay engaged. So I started doing a Facebook live stream every Wednesday from my car because my internet here at the house is suspect at best. So I started doing this little thing that I branded as Cartoons with Charlie Barath, and wound up doing it for 15 months and only missed a couple of, I think maybe 5 Wednesdays I missed for one reason or another. And not only did I keep people engaged, I grew my audience, and I had people tuning in from other corners of the world, which was thrilling for me. So yeah, and between that and finishing up my newest record, which was released last summer.
Well, I have your album here, and I tell you what, I really am impressed with the diversity of style and sound. I guess that you can't just say, oh, this is a blues record, or oh, this is a country record. It's more Americana blues, and I feel that's what Julio and I are, because you can't pigeonhole us to say, well, they do this or that, because you don't know what we're going to come out with, and it's a creative process where the song becomes its own with you and the chemistry of your band.
Mm-hmm.
Is that fair to say about you guys?
Yeah, to an extent. The whole idea behind this particular project, this is my first full-length record of all originals. There's all but one. There's 17 tracks, and all but the last track on the album are originals. And the last one would have been an original, except my friend Bill that I used to duo with had passed away before I could get him in the studio. So I found an old demo that he and I had done years ago, and was able to recover it and remix it a little bit, and so that I could include him on this record. But the whole idea was not necessarily a concept album per se, or a to stick in a particular genre or box, if you will. It was really, I wanted to kind of demonstrate my diversity and not only songwriting, but singing and playing the harmonica, because a country harmonica and a blues harmonica, Chicago blues harmonica, and an acoustic kind of old-timey harmonica, very different feels and approaches. And I wanted to, I kind of wanted to let everybody know that, I can do that. I'm sort of known, generally speaking, as a blues harp guy. But yeah, there's a lot more to it than that. And I also wanted to kind of shine a spotlight on some fantastic musicians that I get to gig with on a fairly regular basis, not only from here in the Western Pennsylvania market, but some folks from elsewhere that I occasionally go on the road with. And so virtually every musician that I use on the studio are friends that I at least occasionally work with, and with the exception of a 2 or 3 that they're friends of mine. We don't get to gig on a regular basis, but you know, we've all shared a stage at some point, and that was the whole idea behind it, was to show that.
Well, I think you definitely did. The other musicians are extremely talented. Like I said, I've been listening, and you know, you hear some steel, you hear some slide, you hear things that you're going, is that a cello? You know? And so I'm enjoying it, and that I think you've accomplished what you set out to there, and it's very impressive. And I see where you're coming from, because you definitely have a nice fat blues tone in your harp and in your vocals with the ones that are real bluesy, but then you know you got a little country, and the country is very distinctly different patterns than blues patterns on harmonica. You know, it really
Absolutely.
is. As well as Julio and I do a lot of jigs and Irish and Celtic stuff, and that's a whole different flavor too. One time I went to a jam with some friends, because we play with our friends. That's what we do. That's how we met. Was we were
Mhm.
set up on a friend party because they thought our music would gel, which it did, and I appreciate
Nice.
that. But I was sitting there and I go, now, how do I do this old timey stuff? I said to my friend Forrest, and he said, it's just like the blues, just do it a whole lot faster. Which is a little more involved than that, but you know,
A little bit, yeah.
you get the gist, you know. And having friends that you get to do music with, I think expand your horizons and make you stretch as a person and a player. And you've definitely done that here. I really, really like it. And it's a good bargain for $15 to get 17 songs, you know?
Right.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good bargain. So if
Yeah.
people get this CD on, I got it from Bandcamp. Is that what it was called? Yeah, Bandcamp
Yeah,
app.
Bandcamp is a website that a lot of people, it doesn't get the um, all the headlines and the notoriety of some of the other streaming platforms. Now, Bandcamp isn't technically a streaming platform. You could go on there and listen to anything on there, but after so many listens, Bandcamp will urge you to download it. So yeah, charliebarath.bandcamp.com. I have several bits of music on there in addition to this record. But the nice thing about Bandcamp, and obviously the streaming platforms have been in the news lately, but everybody squawks about, you know, there's very little payout to regular musicians on the streaming platforms. Bandcamp takes a nominal fee if you if someone downloads your content from Bandcamp. You wind up getting about 80 cents of every dollar spent, plus or minus, which is like head and shoulders above all the streaming platforms. The streaming platforms, you get more exposure that way, potentially. But you know, if you want to, you know, and this is for all you music lovers and patrons out there, if you have an artist that you really like and want to support, the best way to do it is buy their product or the merchandise directly from them or their website. A close second is to get downloads from their Bandcamp page, assuming they have one. And you know, and if that's not an option, you know, certainly streaming doesn't hurt. You know, the more streams, the better, because that gets other people awareness of your music.
Yeah, yeah, but it's like you said, you don't get a whole lot. I did get involved with Yeah, you don't. And they had that lawsuit against Spotify, and it was a lot of work, but I did get a large chunk of money. They had took my original work, which was my first CD, and I had I had no idea. I was going places and people were requesting my songs and knowing my stuff, and I was scratching my head going, I do that in my bedroom, and then I found out there was a copyright infringement, and I got more out of that than I get out of the streaming. Like you said, it's like 0 cents on a stream. I think, 0.0 or 1% or something. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it's not much.
But it's like you said, it is getting your music out there, and that's cool. But it would be nice if it was a little more fair. But because of the pirating and the internet, I think it's really hurt the music world, and they're trying to do better for us. But I think that's hard.
Yeah, it's not easy, and and I've had this debate with other musician friends who, are just adamant that they will never ever put any of their stuff on Spotify or iTunes because they're ripping off the artists, and so my response to that is, okay, well then who's going to hear your music?
Yeah.
And of course I'm not speaking of bigger names who are getting radio play or already established. I'm talking about people who are trying to get their content out there into the world's ears.
Yeah.
And you know if you don't make it available for easy access to people to at least listen to, then chances are the only people hearing your music are the people at your shows. And as we all know, there haven't been a whole bunch of shows for the past 2 years.
Yeah, there haven't. I threw a concerts here in town. We have a gazebo and an outdoor venue, and I did twice a month. I threw things through the area, the time we could be outside, but we're
Mhm.
in the mountains and it snows, and then we battled all the smoke and the heat, and it made it
Right.
really difficult. You can't. I had to cancel shows, reschedule them a week later when the air might clear, and so there's all the exterior elements there. But it was the only way here in California and in the area I'm at that I could do that. So we at least did that, and people loved it because they miss us. They miss live music. And so I want to talk to you now about your creative process and how, when you're doing a song, what are the elements that get you from the beginning to the end, and how does that work for you?
Well, um, I don't have a formula per se, Nedra. And I would guess that most, not only songwriters but any creators, they have several different directions that they go, starting with an inspiration and then moving through the process to get to what could be eventually a finished product. For me, it comes from different directions. Sometimes it'll be a lyrical phrase uh, or sometimes it'll be a melodic phrase or a hook that, while I'm tooling around playing with my harmonica, and something will catch my ear, and the best thing you can do as a creative person is to um, record and catalog those ideas, because and I know probably every creator has this a long list of files with snippets that may or may not be developed into a complete piece. So that's what I do. I have a little voice recorder on my mobile phone, or if I'm at home, I'll record it wherever. And those ideas come out of nowhere. I've literally woke up with a lyrical phrase in my mind before I actually even opened my eyes, and jumped out of bed and jumped on my laptop and started writing verses. So it's really, there isn't one way to do it. A lot, and I tell people this during my shows, a lot of my favorite songs that I write kind of happen while I'm busy doing something else. Like I've written several tunes on my new record, Just Me and My Friends. were created while I was at work or doing yard work or doing something else. And I've read this, that there's something going on in the brain that while you're busy doing one thing, it frees up the creative part of your brain to do what it does best, which is create without distraction. And that might seem counterintuitive, but there's a handful of songs on that record. Losing My Mind Over You, Little Turtle Nightlight, She Drives Me to Drink, Heart of Mine. They were all written while I was at work or busy doing something, like manual labor or whatever, where I just, very seldom do I sit down with a pen and paper or my laptop and create something from nothing. That's a lot harder to do than most people realize.
I can relate 100%. I'm the same. I used to write things on napkins and write everything down like I used to go to the library, but
Right.
now I just record on my little phone, or I yelled to Julio, "Hey, get my phone, hit record it." I could be doing something else, and I have to get that out because if I wait, I might lose part of it.
Yep.
And yeah, so I always tell people to record themselves. And people sometimes they're like, well, I don't want to hear myself, but it's still just a great tool to have that we have now, and it's with you wherever. And you
Absolutely.
and I'm a gardener, and I also do visual arts, and I'm the same with it's got to be that same place in the brain that I could be sleeping or doing something else, and the image will come of how I'm going to complete that visual project, which you can look
Mhm.
around my studio between musical instruments and paintings. And this is just, it's everywhere because I've kind of always been that way. It wasn't
Mhm.
like I chose to be that way. Or like you were saying, I didn't choose to sit down and figure out how to write a song. I tried it once. I'm going to write a song today. And I did write a song called Ramblin' Girl. It's a country tune. And it drove me crazy. It did not flow. It's a good song. And I forced myself into doing it, but it wasn't fun
Uh-huh.
trying to force it. So I get completely what you're saying there. And I like the way that you expressed and vocalized the way you did, because that kind of explains it. And I often wonder, not everyone operates like that. Their mind doesn't, but yet maybe it works in a way that mine doesn't. Maybe they're good accountants, or
Right. Well, yeah, we're all different. We're all individual. And we all have a different approach to doing virtually anything and everything. So, yeah, that's what I think that's what makes something like creating any art, but songwriting in particular. It's what makes everything um, so great, is that we have all these different people taking different approaches from different directions, and thus the finished products would be uh, unbelievably diverse and appeal to a wider swath of the world, because not everybody likes the same thing. That's good.
that's for sure. That is good. I think diversity is a wonderful thing. When I went back to college, when I was 50, and the diversity at the school of people and age groups, it was like the most wonderful experience to see. Um, okay, let's get back to now our subject here of the harmonica. Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah,
dun. Our little
favorite instrument.
thing. Tell us how the harmonica chose you, or you found the harmonica, and what your steps were to get as good as you are now.
Well, I bought my first one probably in the late 70s, I would guess. I think I paid $6 for that first Hona Marine band. Little that I even consider at the time that 40 plus years later, I would be Honer endorser and part of this great community of not only the Honer community, but the harmonica community at large. And I bought it because I always felt I had something musical in me, and I wasn't able, for various reasons, to take like other guitar lessons or piano lessons or whatever was offered in school at the time. But I had the $6. I could afford the harmonica. It fit in my pocket. My dad played. He was a wonderful player. He didn't play it often enough. And a good friend of his, another guy from the World War II generation, he also played. He always had one, and would break it out and play it anytime in any place. And they both sounded. They played the traditional style first position with the rhythmic tonguing, and it sounded like a calliope on an antique merry-go-round. It was beautiful. So I would sneak the old man's harp out of his desk drawer when he wasn't around, and fool around with a little bit, and eventually decided to invest in my very own instrument. So yeah, so here I am, decades and probably hundreds of harmonicas later.
I can relate.
But yeah, the
they're
key
cool.
to improving on anything is to keep it in your hands, or keep it in your mouth in this case. And it doesn't matter. I tell students this in classes and individual students. This whole process is 10% of what I'm going to tell you and 90% of what you do with it. So it's really, you could take lessons, you could go to classes, you could throw a ton of money at it. You could watch, videos till the cows freeze over on YouTube. But until you put in some serious time, trying to apply those things you learn, you're not gonna make any progress.
You're 100% right. It's 10% that and 90% you. That is really
like
good.
Anything, and you have to be. What's the old adage? Growth doesn't happen in comfortable places. So you have to kind of push yourself out of your comfort zone, and that's really, and you mentioned getting constructive guidance from teachers and instructors and other players. Yeah, you're not always going to like what you hear. Like recording yourself, that in itself is the absolute most valuable thing you can do as a musician, whether you're talking about your performances or your rehearsals or your practice sessions. Recording yourself and then going back and being very objective in your listening to that, because it's simultaneously the most difficult thing and the most valuable thing you can do as you're trying to become more proficient at whatever your craft is.
Exactly. And that being objective is the hardest thing, because you're investing your heart and your soul in it. And you think it sounds better when you're hearing it from your ears and in the space. But when you record it, you can find, oh gosh, I hit a bad note, or oh, I could do this better. And so that is such a valuable thing. And it's also hard. My brother, who played music his whole life, was a musician along with a medic. None of us really he's kind of like the Ford brothers. One of them went off to be a medic. Mine was one of those. And he's really good, and he has his own style, but he heard himself recorded and he hated it. He's never recorded since. I wanted to record him just to have it for his kids. He won't do it. He couldn't handle what he heard. But it isn't easy to be objective of your own work. And that's why it's good to get out there and hear other people record and talk and share. I really like that painting behind you there of the it's a super cool. Well, you got some nice artwork. Yeah, I really like that. It just calls to you. Who did that?
I commissioned a local artist here in Pittsburgh to do that for me, and he can't probably can't see it from there, but he uses a lot of texture and depth in his work. And when you get close to this painting, it's it's like a topographical map. It's got like high points and low points because he uses a lot of thickness and texture. Real quick backstory on that. Years ago, I had a dear friend named Joe Colvis who lived in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And we stopped to visit. My wife and I were traveling from visiting her family in Oklahoma. So we stopped to visit and spend the night at Colvis's house. And he was telling us a story, showed this painting that looked very much like that one. And so he said he had a friend who had visited him, and his friend's son, a college age artist type, was with him. And so Joe got his favorite ecstatic harmonica, which was really ratty looking. The paint was all chipped, and it was, and he's like, this is my favorite sounding harmonica. It could probably use, some cleaning up. So he thought, he asked this young artist, hey, would you paint my microphone for me? And yeah, that's what I said. My microphone, not harmonica.
Yes.
But yeah, you know what I meant. He goes, you paint this microphone for me. So the kid's like, sure. So he takes it, and he doesn't hear from him for like weeks and weeks and weeks. So he comes home from work one day, and he opens his screen door, and there's this big package between his doors, and he's trying to figure out what it is. So he takes it, he opens it up. In it is his microphone, untouched from when he gave it away, and a painting of the microphone, which was this view, like just the grill, and it had all the details, the label, the ecstatic label. I mean, it was beautiful. So Joe passed away sadly years ago. I don't know whatever happened to the painting. I would love to have had it. So with that in mind, I commissioned this young, very talented guy here in Pittsburgh to do a similar thing. And again, even on the label, it says Colvis under ecstatic, just as a shout out to Joe. It's a little side story, but yeah,
that is a great side story. I'm just cracking up here, and that is an artist for you. Or even any human, you never know what they're hearing. You hear what you're saying.
Yep.
So that interpretation is just perfect. And I know that people cannot on this podcast see this painting, but it's very 3D looking even through the screen here, and looks like you used a lot of metallic and a lot of energy, and it's really super nice. That's fun.
Yeah. I have a few pieces from Jeffrey. He's wonderfly talented young guy, and
well, if he has a web page, send me a link and I'll put it under this podcast so people can go appreciate that too. So tell us, yeah. Tell us what's coming up for you here, and a shout out to people that can maybe find you somewhere live.
Well, things have been, as I'm sure everyone's aware of, things have been slow compared to the pre-pandemic days. As far as frequency of shows, things started coming back here. I'm in Western Pennsylvania, as I mentioned. The first year, a lot of outdoor gigs, and things slowed down. And then the second year, I kind of knew that the people who figured out the outdoor venue thing would hit the ground running, and they did. So last year, I was able to do quite a few shows in 2021, indoor and outdoor, after the restrictions eased up a little bit. Still not at the volume of pre-2020, but certainly heading in the right direction. So I'm continuing to book. It took the last couple of months off, and so starting to repopulate that calendar. I have, as you mentioned, the new record I would love to track my next record before the end of this calendar year, if possible. I'm not sure I'll be able to pull it together, but if not, it'll be shortly, as soon as possible after that. But it'll probably be a full-on blues record, instead of the variety pack that you get with the last one. So that's going on. My website is under construction. People can go to my Facebook page, Charlie Barath Harmonica, and pinned to the top of the page is a Google Calendar that shows, upcoming gigs, at least for the next few months, and building all that, building that was torn down thanks to COVID.
I think we're all doing that, and it's run through our house. We did well. We thought we were almost bulletproof, and then Omicron came along, and we're fighting that here, and it's been really rough. It is a very, very difficult thing to deal with. I got the Moderna, and I had the least amount of symptoms. Julio, he had it real bad, but he's up and doing a little bit better each day, as the rest of the house is, and our town, everybody I've talked to has been like, well, it's run through here. So it hit our little town hard, and which is strange. And we triple mask. I ordered some more masks actually, but it is starting to drop off, and things are getting rolling around here. We've got some new clubs too, but nothing at the level like you said before. I'm fortunate. I got some great things going on with my art and an art path, an art walk. And so I'm keeping busy here in the studio, and I've got some new songs. I had got one about Mojo, which is a standard. And then we've been working on a little bit more blues too than other things ourselves. I think it's because, the pandemic is the blues. Well, on that note, I'm going to put in one of Charlie's songs here off of his CD. This one is called Have Ourselves a Ball. And that's what we want to do again, is get out and listen to live music and good stuff like Charlie's putting out there. So here we go. Buckle your seatbelts.
Friday's here, forget the clock. The week is done and we're gonna rock. If you wanna get real tired, we're gonna party till the early bride. Gonna have ourselves a ball. Gonna have ourselves a ball. Come on in, we don't mind at all. The drink is flown and the food real good. Everybody here from the neighborhood. The club is filled with gin and juice. This whole house gonna turn it loose. Gonna have ourselves a ball. Gonna have ourselves a ball. Come on in, we don't mind at all. The chicks are coming from near or far, on a train or a bus or old streetcar, rolling in through every door, doing a shim, sham, shimmy on a hardwood floor. Gonna have ourselves a ball. Gonna have ourselves a ball. Come on in, we don't mind at all. Don't hold back, just come on in. Got the G-man on the skin. Lawman thumping that doghouse bass, shaking down this entire place. The junk man pounding on the 88. Guitar Jimmy is sounding great. A horn is blowing, who can it be? Look out, kiddies, I think it's me. Gonna have
I mean, there's no other way to put it other than it's
Yeah.
sad. It's hard. We've never seen anything like it. People disagree about strange things, and I think it's fear
Well,
based.
sure. Fear, which goes hand in hand with, a lack of solid information, or just flat out ignorance. I mean, that's what drives it all. So I look at it this, I'm trying to stay positive. Um, it seems every once in a while, humanity goes through some major issue. And in my lifetime, I mean, certainly there have been some really difficult things, in the, civil rights era and the Vietnam War, and it's like, 9/11. I mean, like there's a whole bunch of stuff, but this is the first time that there has been something that has impacted, has this negative impact on a global scale. And so I guess it was our turn. I don't look at it like it's the end of the world or the worst thing ever to happen. There's certainly been a lot worse in previous generations, my parents and grandparents alone. I mean, just the first half of the 20th century, two global wars, a global pandemic, a global depression, and what did it do? It made those people that survived it made them a lot stronger. So, I try to stay focused on that and move forward. I don't believe that this is going to be the end of things. I don't believe that this is going to, shut things down. We may have to restructure our approach on how we go about our days. But the human race has been through worse.
Oh, I hear you. I think this is the baby boomers pandemic. My grandparents, like you said, and our parents, shoot, my dad died pretty young from things that he encountered in the World War. My grandfather was in the World War. All my families, all the wars and all the things our families, a military family, been through, had its effect afterwards, but yet the positivity and the love that you end up giving. I've never loved this hard. I've never, prayed this hard. I've never shown outright affection and words right away because you don't, So for me, it made me more loving. I know that sounds strange because I've always been that kind of person. I just love, and love is everything, but now I really want to let people know, and I want to be there for everyone as best I can, which, that for me, and it's made me happier when I'm happy, because it's like, or when you're visiting people, you
Right.
got more and you want to get it out. You don't want to suppress it. Like you don't want to keep it to yourself,
Right.
for another day.
Right. And so many people, when, regardless of the situation around them, they tend to lean on and grab a hold on to the negative and to the downside or the dark side of any given situation. And I was never good at, I mean, I do my share of complaining, and I can be pessimistic at times, but I'm not good at carrying that sort of vibe for very far. So I kind of try to, focus on the good that we have, even if it's just something small, and a little bit goes a long way in days like we're experiencing now. Smile to a stranger, even behind a mask, they could see it in your eyes. Letting just doing the random act of kindness thing, let somebody in traffic, or whatever, reach something on a high shelf at the grocery store for someone who can't reach it. It's just those little gestures. Those little gestures go a long way, and I like to focus on that, and music is another way to do. It's cathartic. Not only making music, but listening to music. And you mentioned that earlier with live music. It is very cathartic, and people, not everybody, but there's a big percentage of people who, like, they really, it's a healing thing. And, you know, anytime I'm doing something that could be a part of making someone's day better, even if only for a couple hours, then, you know, I'm all about it.
Yes, you are. And that's wonderful. And you and your wife, that's the thing I've always noticed. You both have a beautiful chemistry and aura together. And that's the first thing I noticed. It's like there's love. You can feel it and you can see it, you know, it just radiates out. And that alone, you know, I can remember, you know, I said to you, hey, you know, it's good to see you guys. And you said, it's good to be seen. And I thought that was the coolest answer ever.
Well, it is. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you, Sim. I'll pass that on to Gwenda. She'll appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, it's been wonderful talking to you. And I'm going to put this up with some of your music here. And do you have any song in particular that you want played, or that you want people to hear? I'm not, of course, going to give them everything because they need to go and buy that at Bandcamp. But you know, if you have a certain song, I know you said that some of them, you know, they came out faster. Like I was listening to the Little Turtle Nightlight this morning and thought about my nightlight in there. And then I thought about the words, and, you know, and it's just cute. It's cute. And it's a really, I like the song, but I don't want to play the songs that I like. I'd like to play some that you want heard, or you maybe want to talk about.
Right. Well, since you bring up Little Turtle Nightlight, that was actually loosely based on a true story. It happened to a fellow that I used to work with. So he's telling me this story, and half of my heart is breaking and the other half is writing this song. I embellished a little bit, but the gist of the story is there. But I don't know, the first single I released, and I debated, it was like, which song would I release as a single? Which one do I think would hold up best as a single? And which one is my favorite? I mean, I like them all. There were some that, you know, for whatever reason, had a more personal connection in writing. Some of them are autobiographical. Some of them are just like made up out of whole cloth, which is what songwriters do. The first single I released was Losing My Mind Over You, which is kind of a Western swingy number. Really, that's another one that I wrote while I was working. You know,
I definitely want to play that one because it is really good, and it's really different than the others, you know, as far as the instrumental parts of it and the tune itself.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it features, I have aside from my blues band, you know, I do whatever musical projects I can, you know, some of my book the date and then see who's available essentially and go do the gig. But I have a relatively new project that kind of got birthed last summer. It's a Western swing and vintage country project called Mo Taters and the Gravy Train. And Pete Freeman, the pedal steel player on my record, is in that group. And he's one of the best around here, if not the best, although he's too humble to agree with me. But he's just a fantastic musician. And
okay, so here we go with Losing My Mind Over You.
Well, I'm losing my mind over you. Half crazy about everything you do. Sounds funny, but I'm hoping you're cuckoo for me too. I'm losing my mind over you. When I see that pretty smile upon your face, I wish I had a tail that I can chase. It makes me wanna yabba dabba do. 'Cause I'm losing my mind over you. Well, I'm losing my mind over you. Half crazy about everything you do. Sounds funny, but I'm hoping you're cuckoo for me too. Losing my mind over you. Ah, come on, son. Singing like a loon. It makes me wanna howl at the moon, 'cause I'm losing my mind over you. Well, I'm losing my mind over you. Half crazy about everything you do. Sounds funny, but I'm hoping you're cuckoo for me too. I'm losing my mind over you. When I see you in that frilly summer dress, I turn into a silly drooling mess. It makes me wanna cock-a-doodle-doo, but I'm losing my mind over you. Well, I'm losing my mind over you. Crazy about everything you do. Sounds funny, but I'm hoping you're cuckoo for me too. Losing my mind over you. Yes, it sounds funny, but I'm hoping you're cuckoo for me too. I'm losing my mind over you. Wonderful to play with. So yeah, that song is special to me. The other country type song is autobiographical. It's called Ollie Ollie, and I co-wrote that with my friend Gary Vincent, who has a great studio down in Clarksdale, Mississippi. Gary was a professional songwriter in Nashville for many years, and had some great success and acclaim there. When I was a teenager, he had a band around Wheeling, West Virginia, which is near where I grew up. And I used to go see his band there all the time. I didn't know him. I knew who he was. He didn't know me. I reconnected with him, probably 5 or 6 years ago down in Memphis. And we became fast friends. And so anytime I get near that part of the South, I always stop in to visit him and Carol. And when Gwenda and I were there in 2017, maybe, and we went and we visited for a few days, and he says, "Hey, while you're here, let's write a song together." So I'm trying to figure out, well, what do I have to offer? You're the professional songwriter. But we started dragging through some of my notes, and I had all these little phrases and lines that I had started to accumulate based on my growing up in a little coal mining town in Ohio. And he saw those, and he's like, I kind of like that. Let's do something with it. So Ollie Ollie came out of that, and that is another one of my favorite songs on the record. And it is virtually every line in that song I lived. So
wow, yeah, that's wonderful. I like the name of Highball and a Cover Dish.
Another autobiographical piece. That one is Also another one that I lived every line. That song is about my mother.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Sounds like
And my
mom's
mother
son.
was, my mom wasn't a drinker, but anytime we went to like it doesn't matter, it was a wedding or a funeral luncheon or some kind of dance, back, that was the common thing. You took a covered dish, and she had this dirty rice dish that was kind of her signature dish. And anytime we went somewhere, and then she would usually have a highball, which, and if it had too much liquor in it, she sent it back because she was not a drinker, but she was happy enough without the help. But yeah, so that song, it has a great like Chicago blues vibe. It's kind of patterned after some Muddy Waters stuff. But yeah, the lyrics, that song, that's a story of my life.
That's really awesome. That's fun. I can relate. I really like dirty rice. And I take my drinks kind of not too strong.
Right.
I'm little anyways, and we don't need to add alcohol to Nedra. That is
No, no.
known. That is known throughout the land.
Right, right. I can
Well,
relate.
I'm going to get this up and get this on and get the links up to the Harmonica Lady podcast, which people can find all over, not only on Podbean where it's hosted, but as well on iTunes and Heart Radio, anywhere. It's just out there. They do a good job on distributing things. And I feel lucky about that. I've enjoyed working with them there. They make it kind of easy and it's fun. And this way I can get the word out of what people are doing. I'm going to try to get time to start like kind of searching the internet and finding things and just maybe once a week broadcast out what's going on and where harmonica wise, what Jerry Fioril's doing and what Charlie Barath is doing and what Joe Flisco's doing and, just whatever, what Annie Rhines is doing, whatever anybody's posting now that things are starting to open up. I want to give a shout out to that and get, just any fuel to get wherever you're at, go see live music and support the harmonica world and whatever we can do to bring it somewhat back to normal or the new normal.
Whatever that's going to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Charlie, so much for spending time talking to us about yourself and your projects. And they're wonderful. And I appreciate it. And I see you got your Marine Band Horner shirt on.
Well, yes. Yeah. I have to give the boys a shout. They take great care of us.
I absolutely agree. I love Drew. He's doing a phenomenal job and he's just a character. I tell you what, just being friends with him on Facebook, it's entertaining. He's just a phenomenal creative writer with the way he posts. And I've got my little ladies that have been really hard. They've redesigned something, and that's what I create are my necklaces for, along with the other stuff that I sell in my booth. And I got a tracking number. They're on their way.
Sweet.
It's taken 3 years. I've sold out of everything I've made. And then I have, since all where we live, a lot of the music stores have closed. So I just get phone calls all the time and I'm selling stuff right out of the house because they know I have it. Or I go meet them at their house and then I get to hear them play their harp when they get it, which is kind of cool. That's taken me a while to build because I'm not out there pushing it. I'm out there at festivals and I do it. I'm out there and doing what I do. But beyond that, I don't have a shop. So it's kind of cool. They're calling me now to get
absolutely
their stuff.
Very cool.
So that's fun. And then it's really cool because they're so happy that they got it. They'll write me later. Oh, thank you. I'm so happy. And that's pretty cool because you could drive down to musicians' friends from where we live. It's, a couple hour round trip. So I'm glad I can offer that. And Horner's good to me and they get me my stuff and it's quality. And, I'm like you, I started on a Marine band that I got from my grandfather who played trumpet and harmonica. And so it's been Marine band for me forever. And they've got a lot of good harmonicas. Just
their models, the models that the latest generation of Hohner harmonicas are just, you know, you put them up there against any stock harmonica. I mean, they're wonderful. They're very responsive and playable, and they sound fantastic. And you know, and just even the old you know, the original, you know, the Marine Band is still, I mean, they've kind of revamped it a little bit too, and it's a wonderful instrument.
They got this new one out. Well, it's not new. It was the Blues Bender, and it's the one that it's made in. It's not made in Germany. You know, it's one of their little less expensive models, but they redesigned it. And I'm telling you what, it is really good at a price point for a beginner. I mean, it is. So I stock those and talk to people where you at when I get to talk to them when I'm selling them a harmonica. I get to ask them questions and ask them things so that I can direct them to what I feel suits the genre they play or the level they're at. And Horner's made that easy to do.
Yes, they have.
Yeah. So
they have. I typically steer people away from the I don't know what you would call it, entry level.
Oh yeah.
And let's face it, learning the diatonic harmonica is difficult enough. If you don't have an instrument that's responsive, it's an exercise in futility, and people would more often than not put it down and walk away from it than stick with it. Because if I find that if a beginner can't experience some sort of success, even on a base level, then they're more apt to give up easily. But if they could, you know, if you get a harmonica that's a little more responsive and you could, you know, get that sense of accomplishment, then you're more likely to stick with it. So yeah, so that's the one thing I usually guide beginners, you know, to, you know, spend a couple dollars and get, you don't have to get the flagship, you don't have to get the top of the line, you don't have to get a customized harmonica or anything like that, but there's a lot of great options out of the box.
The Special 20 is one, and the Rocket.
Special 20 is kind of the standard.
Yeah, it's a standard, and people like it, and I agree 100%. I do not stock anything that I haven't played or that I don't know anything about, because I don't want to steer somebody wrong. And I notice the same thing. If it's hard and they can't do it, they put it down.
They quit. Sure.
They quit.
And it's hard enough, even on a great harmonica. It's hard enough. I mean, I've been at it for over 40 years. I'm still learning little subtle. They're usually very little subtle things, but when you combine them all, it adds to the full soundscape of what you're doing. And you know, and that's one of the things that keeps me continually excited about the diatonic harmonicas, even after all these years, decades. I'm still honing that craft, you know, and there are a lot of, you know, alternate tunings and things like that. And I do fool around with some of that, but I keep going back to the standard Richter tune harp, and it just like, it never fails to get my attention, you know, and it's like all these little subtle things that like, oh, that's cool. I'm going to start using that.
I agree. I tried like learning other things, and then I said, why am I need every bit of my brain to try to wrap around this. So I went full on, you know, into that and there's something all the time. It's always appealing. And I'm with you. I like the Richter and I do have some minors. We do minors, but I like doing the minor on the Richter tuned as well. So, you know, it's just whatever works for you, I think, and what you're comfortable with, and the harmonica that works for you, and finding that helps, you know.
Yes.
And it's like you were saying, there's stuff, it's kind of like you pick things up that you don't know. They're kind of subliminal in your head, and then some little trick will connect the dots and you go, that's that. I wasn't ready at the time to hear that. I didn't have the ability to know that, but now I do. And here it is many years later, and you're learning something altogether new. It keeps it fresh.
Yes. Yes. And there really are no shortcuts to get there, other than, as our friend Deke likes to say, keep it in your mouth. That's how you get good.
Oh, yeah. the tone master.
Yeah.
I love him. That's the thing. You go to these meetups and you meet all these wonderful, phenomenally talented, down to earth, wonderful people. And I only know it from the harmonica because I don't go to conventions or other things, but we do a lot of festivals and we do a lot of sit-ins with other musicians. And, for the most part, they're all wonderful, helpful people, but the harmonica community seems to really want to help each other. We don't want to like not help. The generosity of, people like Joe Falisco and David Barrett and, putting on the workshops at Spa with all the different tables, and you can go in there. It's like you get the smorgasbord, do
Right.
I want, yeah. And so it's just a wonderful thing. And that's why I try to do these podcasts to let everybody know what's going on and how to get involved and what people like yourself are doing, which is phenomenal. And we thank you so much. And I want to thank you for our time together here. We've worked this out and we've got it going here. And I'm going to do the post production and get it all ready for you. It could be about a week or so because I'm so booked with a bunch of things right now. And I don't want to neglect this, and being overbooked with all the other things, it's harder to get the podcast in regularly for me, but I want,
Well, I appreciate you reaching out to me, Nedra. It's always great to hear from you, and I'm thrilled to be a guest on your podcast. I appreciate that, and the shout out, I'm getting a lot of great feedback and airplay and some wonderful reviews on this record from not only US but also from Europe and other parts of the world, which is just thrills me to no end. And I'm chomping at the bit to start the process up again and get the next full length record out there.
Well, you know what, you could actually do tours in the UK and different places, because as a band leader with your talent, you'd be able to go and sit down with some musicians and bam, you're there. And I've seen a lot of harmonic players that do that. They can't take the whole band. And
right. That's probably the route that I would have to take,
Yeah. I look forward to that.
That's what my friend Jimmy, who's on the record, told me that one time. He's like, dude, he says, you got a show, you could take this anywhere, and you hire the right musicians. You don't have to worry about dragging a band around. Although that would make things easier. But but I'm good. And a lot of times my regular gigs are just that. Like I said, I book a gig and then see who's available. And
you're doing a good job. Yeah, you're doing a good job, man. I'll tell you that I was like that before Julio, where I even did shows with backing tracks, I was booking pretty solid and there was no drama, or I'd put a band together for projects, and you never know who's going to be sick and you got to pull a number out of your hat and get someone else in there with you. But that part's the adrenaline part. That's kind of fun. But once Julio and I hooked up and started playing and got married, that's my partner now. And so I feel lucky. But he feels the same way. So we groove, and we got a new stand-up bass player, and he's really, really good. He plays every instrument, and is a really phenomenal player. We're so lucky that he moved to our little town. We've been waiting forever, and he moved here, and he turned out to be just a good heart like Julio. He's just a sweet, sweet, beautiful person, and that helps. And going away from your family or away from people to gig is a heavy price. It's got to be good money, because you want to be home with your family. You want to be home with your friends playing, and it sounds like you're getting to do that. So
a little bit,
yeah,
chipping away at it.
All right, man. I appreciate it, and we'll talk soon, and I'll get this up. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, and I hope to see you and Julio soon.
Oh, I hope so too. I hope in August. I'm hoping.
Yes.
Down in Tulsa.
Is it in Tulsa this year? I thought it's in St. Louis.
No, Tulsa's what I heard.
I could be wrong. Yeah, don't go by what I say. I'm usually wrong.
I really like the spot in Tulsa. It's got everything. It's
Yeah.
like the city of the world place. So I really like that spot and the crew there. Well, everybody there, there's no complaints. We've been there a few times, and I think it's a great spot. So St. Louis is a good spot too. That was fun. St. Louis was
Yeah.
really fun. All right.
Well, wherever it's going to be, whenever it happens in person, you can count that I'll be there.
I'm going to do everything I can to get there too.
Yeah.
All right, man. Over and out.
Thank you, Nedra. Take care of yourself.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
What a fun interview. I'll tell you, I enjoyed talking to Charlie here. It was wonderful. And I'm going to leave it with the song he talked about, Highball in a Covered Dish. So these songs are personal to him. He's written them. It's a wonderful mix. So do yourself a favor and go to one of his shows or go buy his record here. And I look forward to his next one, which he's working on right now. So the Harmonica Lady, Nedra Russ out. Take care. Bye-bye.
Was a Polish girl down Belmont County way. Grandma was a Polish girl way down Belmont County way. One taste of the cooking, Grandpa was there to stay. Halupke and Halushke, kielbasa filled the air. Halupke and Halushke, the smell of kielbasa filled the air. When she started in her cooking, man, they come from everywhere. A wedding or a funeral, it was a highball in a covered dish. A wedding or a funeral, it was a highball in a covered dish. Bingo every Friday, and man, the whole place smelled like fish. Go to church on Sunday morning, she was back at home by noon. Yeah, church on Sunday morning, she was back at home by noon. mopping in the kitchen. I roll pierogies all afternoon. First one up in the morning, she was the last one to go to bed. First one up every morning, she was the last one to go to bed. That's a true story. She wore a homemade apron and a babushka on her head.